New article from Insider Gaming from Grant Taylor Hill says Starfield's missing expansion and Bethesda's silence stirring unease. This is something we've touched on a number of times, actually, because after Summer Games Fest, specifically with the Xbox showcase, that happened at the same time, I was shocked they didn't have anything for Starfield, like at all. Like I thought there might be an announcement for a PS5 port or something. I thought maybe there'd be an announcement for the new expansion, which allegedly is still coming, new DLC, new paid mods, because they love those. What they said earlier in March was this. They wrote this post on social media. We know you're eager for an update, and we truly appreciate your passion for Starfield. I am passionate about it, tell you what. And we truly appreciate your passion for Starfield. The team has been hard at work, and while we're not ready to share specific details just yet, we have a lot of exciting things planned for the game this year that we can't wait to talk about when the time is right. We're always listening and taking your feedback, except for Luke's. Thanks for being part of this journey with us. And this is like literally the last time they said anything about it. Like 4 months ago. That's the last time they said anything. And bear in mind, they're supposed to be releasing a big expansion this year. Now, me and like 3 other people are still talking about it, to be fair. It's not really a hot topic of discussion anymore. But it's still crazy that they have a decent, nothing to balk at. Any other studio, I think, would be pretty happy with the numbers they have. If we look up Starfield, even on Steam, it's popular on Game Pass as well. But even on Steam, okay, I take what I said back. They're at 4,000. Okay, they were peaking in like 5,000, 5,800. I thought it was up towards like 12, 15,000, but I was wrong. Never mind. Okay, yeah, player counts aren't great. Shattered Space was a known thing long before the release of Starfield in September 2023. That's because it had a trademark leak. Todd Howard confirmed that a second expansion was in development in June of 2024. This is why when people say, no, they never said they're doing it. For one, they said expansions. They said we want to do annual expansions for Starfield. So that means more than one. At the very least, could mean 2, could mean 15, but it says at the very least more than one. And in June of 2024, he said that they are working on a second expansion. Since then, no meaningful message has been uttered by them despite opportunities having presented themselves. They did say this one that we mentioned earlier. That's the last time they said it. Xbox Game Pass or Xbox Game Showcase came and went. Nothing said. It all boils down to accountability. It was a clear promise that Starfield would have one major expansion a year. And in the 2 years that we've been sitting with Starfield, the only expansion we've even heard about was revealed long before the game came out. Bethesda's guarantee of long-term support is feeling increasingly hollow, especially when you look at the post-launch efforts of an adjacent project like Fallout 76, the MMO that they've been chugging along with for 7 years. If Starborn echoes the performance of Shattered Space and fails to deliver, or worse, never materializes, Starfield may be chalked up as a failure after more than a decade of development. Fans are now hoping for and fully expecting some kind of reveal or announcement at Gamescom, which kicks off in just a few weeks. We know that Bethesda will be in attendance, but nobody knows in what capacity. We also know that Fallout 76 has the biggest update ever planned, so it could be something related to that. I mean, here's the deal. Pointing to concurrent player counts typically I don't think is fair for a single player game. It launched in 2023, 2 years ago, and like, shocker, yeah, the player counts are not going to be as high as they were back when it launched. Of course. The more worrisome bump is over here, okay? When they released the expansion for the game that they want it to be like living and breathing and everything, you see a tiny little bump and then it goes back down. People played it because it was all of 5 hours long and then it disappeared. And now player counts are really low. But if we look at other Bethesda Game Studios titles, you can see that we have, of course, like Oblivion, well, even Fallout 4 is at 14,000 players right now. 14,000. Fallout 3 down at 400. Oblivion Remastered is at like 5,700, still outperforming Starfield. Special edition Skyrim is at 21,000 players after all this, and that's a game released in 2016. It's like very, very normal, healthy pace of players. Like very, very, anybody would kill for these player counts. It's absolutely wild. But Starfield has just not achieved that goal, which I think is why it's fair to bring it up and compare it and just be like, yeah, it still has people playing it. There's 4,000 people playing it right now, but I think for them, they're in a tough spot because they can do the expansion. I think the expansion already has most of the work done on it, which is probably why they would put it out, because they're like, hey, we did all the heavy lifting. Let's just polish it up, finish it, put it out there, and we'll sunset Starfield. I think that's probably what's going to happen. I still think we see the second expansion. And at this point, I'd be shocked, like actually shocked, if it's not at Gamescom. Because what I think is going to happen, and this is what I mentioned, I think on the podcast, let me see, Gamescom 2024. So you remember this? As you can see, there was this one moment where like they do the trailer for Indiana Jones. It's received really well. Everybody's applauding. And then Jeff did this awkward like, and there's one more very exciting thing. Oh, but doesn't look that good. Probably wondering when the game is coming out, right? He turns around. They reveal the date. People applaud. Yay, it's coming out. Yay, it's happening. Okay. And then he turns around. There you have it. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is coming out this December for, come on, Xbox Game Pass and PC. But there is one more thing that Machine Games and Bethesda wants you to know. And then they do this weird reveal. He turns around and then they go spring 2025 PS5 as like a separate announcement. It was really weird. It was kind of awkward. But I think they probably do the same thing here, but for Starfield. I think Todd probably comes out. They do the trailer for Starfield's second expansion, and then Todd comes out on the stage, maybe sitting on Jeff's shoulders like a toddler. And he's like, everybody, it's also coming to PlayStation 5, the complete edition of Starfield, PlayStation 5, $80, out now. Yeah, something like that. And I think that that's how they do it. And then that's going to be the point where they sunset it. They're going to wipe their hands of it and move on, which I think is the best way to do it. We were also talking on the podcast the other day to Jor, and Jor was saying how he thinks there's no shot there's ever a sequel to Starfield. At this point, I think you have to kind of break it down with Todd's career as you see it, because all accounts say that Starfield was Todd's baby. Like that's the game he always wanted to make. Since he started making games, he always wanted to make a space game. In the Starfield big saga video I did that's like 8 hours long, I showed you forum posts that you can still find to this day. These forum posts show Todd back in like 1997 talking about the different space games he'd like to see and the games he was playing and stuff. Again, go check out the Starfield saga video I did if you haven't already. But for Todd, like where he's at is, you know, if this is the timeline of his career, you know, we're at a spot where like they did in 23, they did Starfield. They probably do Elder Scrolls 6 in, I'm guessing like 20, I still think like 28 personally, maybe 27, maybe 28, who knows. But they probably do it somewhere around there. And then another 5 to 6 years for Fallout 5. And if that's in like, you know, 2034 for Fallout 5, which at this point is pretty clearly the order they're going, that would then present them the opportunity to do Starfield 2 in like 2040, which I am not joking. That's about the timelines we're talking about, okay? In 2040, just a little under 20 years after the first game. At this point, Todd is going to be like, whatever, 63 or 64 years old. I don't see him working until he's 70 years old on Starfield 2. I just can't see that happening. If you have made millions as he has, if you're driving your little Tesla around Maryland and, you know, calling Elon Musk and hanging out, sending him Vault Boy statues, as we learned at the E3 Coliseum in 2019. If you're doing that, I don't know why you'd want to spend your Golden Girls years like getting beat up online and trying to make Starfield work. Still, no doubt, in the creation engine. Like, I think personally, my prediction, and I know some people think he's retiring like here. Some people said Todd retires here. I don't see that happening. I think Todd retires here. I think he goes through Fallout 5, sees that through, and then we'll get an announcement that he's like stepping away and handing the reins to somebody else. I think that's what happens. Do you think Bethesda can afford to have an Elder Scrolls 6 problem or perform like Starfield? Well, they can afford it because Daddy Microsoft will make good on it. I think, you know, in terms of reputation, I think this pretty much makes or breaks Todd's long-term legacy, unfortunately, because I think if he had retired after Skyrim, like, that would have been it. Todd turns 55 this year. So that would mean he was born in what, 1970? So by this point, he'd be 64. And by this point, he would be 70. Like, yeah, that's about right. If Elder Scrolls 6 isn't good, it would be released 4 times in a row that are at least mixed. But this is also, if you listen to that interview he did with Maddie, that interview was so freaking interesting for so many reasons. It's so freaking interesting for so many reasons. Not all for great reasons, but, you know, still interesting. But in that interview, like, Todd phrases things like, you know, he's asked about, I don't know if it was this interview or the one with Kind of Funny Games, but in one of these interviews, he's asked about, like, what do you think of the reception to Starfield, which was pretty mixed. I think it was the Kind of Funny Games one. And he's like, yeah, there's some people that really liked our game and other people that liked it less. Is that how we're defining it? Or he says stuff like, you know, more players than ever played Starfield than any of our games prior at launch, which is true because of Game Pass and things. But it's like, if we're just going based off of player counts, I think that that's how they're determining success. It's based on player counts. I think broader sentiment, it doesn't really matter that much at this point. You know, I think at this point, it talks about sensitivity. I don't know. I think it's marketing spin more than anything. You talk to a used car salesman, for example, which people have accused Todd of coming off like a car salesman before. He's really good at selling, but he kind of comes off that way where he's not going to tell you all the nitty gritty details you probably want to know. But like the way, you know, a car salesman might be like, you might point out, hey, is that rust on the chrome bumper or whatever? And he's going to go, oh, no, that is a nice iron oxidation that actually is an indication of the car adjusting to its natural climate. So that just means that the car has adjusted to the humidity of the area you're in. It's actually, you know, probably for a lot of people, they like it because it gives a unique look. You know, you get the car out of the shop and it looks the same for everybody, but this car is uniquely yours. It's like a fingerprint. And you're like, so you just described rust and then you said it's unique. You know, it's a feature. It's a feature. And you know, that's part of what they teach you in sales is to find ways to frame things that way. And he's good at it. It's the one thing I'll always give Todd. He's a phenomenal salesman. Phenomenal. And for a long time, he had products that also really, really backed it up. My frustration is just that I feel like BGS's product has steadily gotten, maybe not worse, but it's not evolved. It's not improved. They've just continually kind of treaded water. And I feel like it's, I don't know, it's a little jarring to see that they just have not really taken a lot of steps forward. But it is what it is. Oh, Todd. Oh, Todd. He'd be a good politician or press secretary. Well, I mean, being able to sell something is a very, very useful skill. And whatever you think of Todd, he's charismatic as shit, dude. He just is. He just is. Like, how many other people could do a video with Wired breaking down their career in the games industry? Like just outlining the games that they had produced. Like, not everybody could do that, but he does it, and there's a whole cult around him. We joke about it all the time. We joke about, you know, the cult of Todd, praise be to Todd. And when he comes out on stage, a lot of people pay attention. They sit up and you want to listen to him. So he is a compelling guy. He's incredibly charismatic, and you should never take that away from him. My frustration is just that I feel like as the rest of the industry has made all these leaps and strides and improved and evolved, I feel like BGS has just stagnated. And I also, you know, some people will think it's, you know, time to move on or whatever. I don't think you can just hand wave away something like Fallout 76. They knew that was broken and they didn't care. It's the same thing with Cyberpunk 2077. They knew that was broken and they didn't care. In fact, they tried to hide it from you and sell it to you anyways. Like, that type of thing is so scummy. So scummy. It's why I'm honestly shocked that a lot of those executives within CDPR are still in position, because it was ridiculous. It's absolutely crazy.